Hey guys, welcome back to Clownfish TV. This is Kneon. I am here with Geeky Sparkles.
Hello.
And the Hollywood Reporter is reporting that Sesame Street is getting completely reimagined for its next season.
Gosh, 56 seasons.
56 seasons, way older than we are. Sesame Street is getting completely overhauled. Now,
What does that mean, though?
they're not being extremely specific as to the content. They're talking about the format change. However, there have been concerns about Sesame Street getting more and more political in one direction over the last couple of years.
But the thing is, I don't understand that because Sesame Street's always been like that. Like, not political so much as very, very diverse and inclusive. It's always been.
Yeah, that's what's so funny because I know, everybody was like, oh, finally, we have Black Muppet on Sesame Street. It makes it so diverse and inclusive. This is the cast of Sesame Street from the late 70s, early 80s. And Bob was the only white guy on the show.
Mm-hmm. And they had a Black Muppet.
They did. They had Franklin.
Coded black.
He was.
Franklin,
yeah. And he just disappeared.
And so you can't say anything. Well, he's purple. Well, have you seen the animation lately? Black people basically are purple.
Yeah, right. Is that where that comes from?
I don't know.
Because Franklin he was like a main character, and I think it's because Matt Robinson left or whatever, the original Gordon. But he was a main character. If you watch first couple seasons, I used to watch the old seasons of Sesame Street with Pinky Boo, and he was on all the time, and then he just disappeared.
He was on there for 5 years.
Yeah, it was crazy. So let's talk about this. Before we get into it any further, please subscribe for more pop culture news, views, and rants, guys. Get a woohoo if you do.
Woohoo!
Go out to shopclownfish.com. Support Shadowbinders Volume 3.
Please.
On our website, please.
And thank you those who did.
Yes, thank you very much. We're not using Indiegogo anymore. We may do a round on Kickstarter here in a couple weeks.
Yeah, I think we're going to do Kickstarter, but we're not doing Indiegogo.
Done with Indiegogo completely. But the first new Shadowbinders content in 10 years.
And if you missed book 1 and 2, there are limited availability of those books left.
Yes, and we're
almost out.
Set those aside just for the Crimson Wren campaign and for this campaign, and then that is it. We'll have to go back to press at a later date.
And this next book has my favorite chapter in it that I've written, so
yes.
Yay!
Planes, trains, and automobiles.
It's trains.
All right.
On a train.
Yeah, so that's gonna be fun to draw. Let's talk about this. The Hollywood Reporter: Sesame Street getting reimagined for season 56. Sesame Workshop will drop the magazine-style format of the long-running children's show in favor of a longer narrative-driven style.
Oh, yay.
Paired with a new animated series, Tales from 1, 2, 3.
Okay. So they're going to put the animated series in the show?
Yeah.
Like when they're going to have an episode of Sesame Street, the animated is going to be part of it.
Apparently they're going to do it in 2 halves, and it's going to have more plot. And we can only guess what the plot's going to be given the direction of Sesame Street these days. So, yeah, this is the guy who's in charge now, Steve Youngwood, the CEO of Sesame Workshop. With any change, you have evolution. And then you have things that are slightly bigger steps while staying core to who we are. We felt like this was a moment to step back and think bigger about how we evolve.
Okay, but what's that mean?
They said the most significant change will see the program drop the magazine-style format, which has been long used. Yet what they do, it was kind of like Laugh-In, where for those of you who've never seen Sesame Street, they had 1 or 2 plot lines and they would intersperse them throughout a bunch of little shorts and educational clips and whatever. And they would rerun a lot of that stuff. It sounds to me like they're dropping that, which
for more narrative during segments, because that's what kids want.
Yes. And it'll be paired with the new animated series. The new format will feature 2 11-minute story segments with the new animated series sandwiched in between. So yeah, it sounds to me like they're getting rid of the shorts, which to me was Sesame Street, because I still remember all those, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10,
demonetized.
11, 12. Did you know that was the Pointer Sisters?
No, but I can hear it now that you mentioned
it. I didn't know that, because that was back in the 70s, and I didn't know that. But yeah, so many great animated shorts, and I love that about Sesame Street. And they did it because my understanding was they thought kids' attention spans were short, and back then, Laugh-In and stuff like that.
Kids' attention spans are shorter now than they were then.
I'm surprised they're not we're going to go all TikTok guys, and we're going to
yeah, me too.
We're not going to do anything.
I think they would do more shorts than longer segments.
Yeah,
but,
we're not going to
with that.
Everything's got to be 30 seconds or less, because kids today. It's going to give us an opportunity to dive further into narrative.
Oh my God! When I hear further into narrative, I'm like, oh no.
I'm just gonna put this headline out there because I have a strong suspicion that the narrative is going to be the narrative.
I don't know. The number of the day is 69, kids.
Oh,
and if an adult that you know asks to touch you, then you let them because they identify as they're going to introduce a new character who's an adult who identifies as a 5-year-old.
Oh God! Don't give them ideas. Stop giving them ideas. Yeah, they said that this is the executive VP and creative director here. Kay Wilson Stallings. The change is going to be a reimagining of the show and adding that the longer segments will allow for more dynamic and sophisticated stories.
What does that even mean?
You know what that means.
Well, wait, they go down here and they're talking about, okay, it could, for example, allow both an A story and B story, with the A story focusing on a core character and what they're going through, and the B story adding a little bit more levity and a lot more character moments. Both the A story and B story will come together in some way to really help us with whatever curricular focus we're trying to have, what lessons we're trying to make. Kids love a little bit of peril, and they love having emotional stakes in 9 minutes.
What?
It's kind of hard to really dive into those areas really effectively. And so by opening up these segments and making them longer, it's going to give us an opportunity to really serve up what we know from research, what we know from across the industry, and what we know from our curriculum and education experts, and what we know kids are looking for. I mean, I think what they're trying to do, I'm not sure, when they're saying narrative and stuff, I think what they're trying to do is they're trying to take things that are going on now that kids might, be hearing about, or take things that are going on that they know kids might, be facing in life, like making new friends or something like that. And then they're going to try to do 2 stories that piggyback off each other to, help build it up. And I think that they might use it. And this isn't the first time they've done it. When bad things happen in the world and kids are upset because they hear stuff, they don't understand it. They might be using it to that might be what they're trying to do. Like, make it like understandable so kids aren't afraid. Does that make sense?
Yeah, they've done that for years though.
I know. I don't know. I mean,
every time there's a natural disaster or something, they would.
What they mean by curricular.
Look,
Scott Bluey has like longer episodes.
It's weird because I didn't realize they cut, because it's been a long time since our kids watched Sesame Street, obviously, and I don't watch Sesame Street, right? But they cut the length of the show in 2016. They cut it down to 30 minutes.
Yeah, I see that right there. Yeah.
And so you usually had,
and then they paywalled it.
So I love this. I love this because for those of you who don't know how Sesame Street got its start on PBS, Sesame Street got its start because they felt that there were underserved inner city kids who couldn't keep up with their suburban counterparts. So Sesame Street was designed to be free education for inner city kids. If you watch the first couple of seasons of Sesame Street, the street looks, pretty dirty. It looks like a very urban, very lived in street. And then as time went on and it became more merchandisable, they cleaned it up a little bit. But the purpose of Sesame Street was to give free education to kids who weren't getting taught everything they should be taught at school because of where they're at or whatever the deal was. And we went from that to let's put it on HBO and paywall it.
But that's okay. We'll keep free episodes. They'll air like months after the fact.
The reruns. They can get the reruns, reruns, leftovers for the poor kids. But they said there were some other tweaks too. They're going to have a musical every episode. We're going to have a signature song in every episode.
Yeah, but that's not that unusual. They used to do songs all the time.
As long as it's not all musical. Now,
they're going to bring famous singers to sing some of them.
Now, the
Muppet characters are going to talk to the camera now. Are going to talk at the kids.
Yeah, so, okay. I'm just saying, this kind of basically, we're going to take Sesame Street, we're going to keep the marketable characters, and then we're going to change everything about it.
Now they're going to go inside the building, too.
Yes, they're going to go inside the apartment building where all of the creatures and stuff live, and that's what the animated segment's going to be.
That's the animated, okay.
Because apparently it's cheaper than building a lot of puppets.
Or a lot of sets, too.
I said the new series, which could eventually be developed into its own spin-off, has been in the works for quite some time. So, we want 5-minute animated segment that includes our core characters. So basically, this is going to be our Bluey.
Make him toyetic.
Make him toyetic. So they're talking about the founder of Sesame Street talking about it being an experiment, and we got to change it up. And they said, yeah, here, this is what's going on. Sesame Street is nearing the end of a 5-year deal with Warner Brothers Discovery, which debuts new episodes on Max. And then, they're on PBS after 9 months.
9-month delay.
9-month delay.
Wow.
As it happens, Sesame Workshop's current deal with Warner Brothers ends after season 55, meaning that the new look Sesame Street will coincide with the beginning of its next rights deal. New episodes will debut on whatever channel or platform picks up the show.
So that says that they don't think, they said be it Warner Brothers Discovery, but it seems like they're worried it's not going to be Warner Brothers Discovery.
That's what I think is going to happen. I think what's going to, because we know David Zaslav is like cutting everything that doesn't perform, and he might be like, because they cut a bunch of Sesame Street. They had at one point in time, I don't know if it's still the case, but when HBO Max first launched, they had like every season of early Sesame Street on. It was archived. You could watch the very first episode of Sesame Street. Now, I don't know if that's still the case, but people said they were getting rid of a bunch of Sesame Street content because it probably didn't perform. Because parents aren't going to sit their kids down in front of, Sesame Street from like 1972.
Well, that's true. I mean, they're not gonna. Most people aren't going to. You're just going to watch it for nostalgia reasons. You're probably not going to. A lot of things stay the same, but a lot of things would change.
Yeah, this sounds to me like they're trying to build a life raft. Like, well, if Sesame Street as it is doesn't work, we got this cartoon show we can pimp out.
Basically, yeah.
They said the library's valuable. They've got, this sounds like a sales pitch.
Like you said, for nostalgia reasons, but a lot of the older stuff is going to be so old, no one's going to really watch it.
That's just it. It's interesting to watch from like a historical perspective. Christmas Eve on Sesame Street is one of my all-time favorite Christmas specials. It's in my top 3.
I was right about the number of the day being 69 because it debuted in 1969. Sorry.
There you go. It did.
I didn't even know that. So I thought it was 70, but there you go.
Yeah, this sounds to me, oh my God, yeah. Sesame Workshop has expanded. Now it's in the YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, and Roblox.
It's in Roblox too? Okay. And a podcast, it's investing in the podcast space. Oh boy.
The show is core to who we are, but we can't be a TV company. It's a bit of evolution. It's not like we woke up yesterday and decided to do it, but as platforms evolve and as the gift of digital allows you to reach audiences in different ways, that's what we're doing. It's on a very continuous basis.
Well, you would think then that having shorter segments would make more sense if you're trying to reach people on those platforms.
You would think,
not the longer segment. I don't know. It's just weird.
It sounds to me like they're having an existential crisis. I wonder if Sesame Street...
There's word they're going to get canceled.
Well, yeah, because if the money's not coming from PBS anymore...
And let's be honest here, I don't think most kids are watching Sesame Street. They're watching Bluey and Coco Melon and things like that. And I think they're getting their asses kicked.
And that's what this is about. That's what this is about right here. Because the art style even looks very similar to like Bluey or
I'm thinking more Coco Melon, but yeah, it does. It's very simplistic. I mean, for kids, it makes sense, but I'm just like, that's what it reminds me of that. So they're trying to do a kids cartoon on top of the show. I don't think they're holding the audiences like they used to.
No.
And the fact that they seem to be worried their deal with Warner Brothers tells me, and then what you're saying tells me that they aren't bringing the views like Warner Brothers thought they would, and they likely will be getting removed.
So we might live in a world without Sesame Street at some point. They might just
I don't know. But the whole idea that Sesame Street, that's the too woke thing, it's always been that way. Like when people say that, I'm just like, I look at them like they're nuts because I'm like, it's always been that way.
I could argue semantics. It's always been progressive. It hasn't always been
that.
woke.
Okay, no, that I agree with.
Because old school Sesame Street used to have teeth. It used to be like.
Well, it sounds like that's what they're trying to do again. It sounds like that's what they're trying to go back to. Is they seemed like they had stories that were more about things that kids, the actual issues, like when someone died.
Yeah.
And things like that. And they were talking about what it's like to deal with that. And they used to seem like they were, because when we were kids, back in the 80s, then even the 70s before it, everything was a little more gritty. Let's put it that way. And you had to be, and they talked to kids more like, here's what's going on. We're going to try to do it in a way you can understand. I think they have glossed over a lot of things and tried to make it more, tea parties and fun. So yeah. I think they're just more sounds like they're trying to go back more to like the roots of what they were doing. I don't think it's that much of a change as much as it's more like it used to be. Does that make sense?
Yeah, Mr. Hooper's death. I mean,
that's what I'm saying.
Still all these years later, I was rattled as a kid. I'm like,
how do you explain it?
I was little, but he did. It was like, yeah, Mr. Hooper, yeah, he's never coming back from the hospital. Then I was like, what the hell's up with Big Bird? That they're like, hey, Big Bird, don't you remember? Like, he was in the hospital, he was sick, and we had a freaking funeral. Like, what happened, Big Bird? What happened to your brain? It's like, what? So Big Bird just like completely blocked that whole thing out, and they had to explain to the audience that that's where Mr. Hooper went.
Yeah. So I mean, so it's not that much difference of being more focused on a narrative and trying to like be more time sensitive or something sensitive to like what's going on. But I don't know. We'll see how it goes. I don't watch Sesame Street, so
No,
I don't know. I mean, if your kids watch Sesame Street, heads up. I don't know how this is gonna go.
I don't know.
Sounds like they're desperate.
It sounds to me like they're desperate. So we're going to wrap this up.
Yep.
Please subscribe for more pop culture news, views, and rants, guys. We'll talk later.
Bye.